Hi, happy International Women's Day. I'm really excited about this live where we're going to discuss the theme around International Women's Day, Break the Bias. And I have Lucy, who's a creative change maker. So I think now more than ever, it's really important to open up the conversation around really break the bias. Thank you for everyone joining us. Hi, Missy Sedan's mum, Lucy. And part of this is opening up the conversation to not only just women, but for the masculine as well. So I'd seen Lucy put up a really beautiful post up. Hey, Lucy. How are you? So I'm just getting her to join us now. There we go. Hey, Lucy, how are you? So I know that she'd mentioned that she was joining from. Oh,
Hey
hey,
there.
how are
How you
you?
doing? Oh, I'm so good. How are you? It's so good to see you.
Oh, it's so good to see you. It looks so nice and sunny in New Zealand.
It's amazing. It's such a nice day. It's been really up and down the last little while, but yeah, blessed. Today's perfect for this, so perfect timing.
Go outside for us here in Sydney. It is pouring down rain. As you would have been, it's been raining for days. But like, is it ever going to stop raining? But like, our heart really goes out for our community and our family and friends in the northern rivers and the places that are affected by floods as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And our thoughts are definitely with everybody affected by that. I know, having been in and out of Australia for quite a while as well, it's like the weather, the elements are really so powerful, and it's such a crazy beautiful place to live because you have so many just so much juicy goodness from the environment and from Mother Nature that really can be so powerful in such a beautiful way, but also can be so destructive. So love and blessings to everybody who's affected in a negative way at the moment.
Yeah, and I think
Mm.
that when we have these challenging times, it's so like it's just you can see the silver lining in community and how beautiful there's people out there, really the
Yeah.
strength of the community as well, going out there, helping people and being there. So it's amazing. And what I mentioned at the start for this International Women's Day, hashtag break the bias, I was chatting about a
Mhm.
post that you said, like a really big part of this conversation, which has obviously, you know, evolved for me on my journey, and you've probably found this as well, that it is really the unity of the divine masculine and the feminine as well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm so glad you saw that post. It really came from my heart. I mean, everything that I do tends to come from my heart, but it's something that I feel is super, super important for all of us to be embodying, to be able to bring both of those, the yin and the yang, the feminine and the masculine energies into balance within each of us. So that is about breaking the bias, in a big way, I think, because we tend to see ourselves as so separate. We see ourselves as separate from the masculine, as separate from each other. But actually, it's the unity and the balance and the connectivity of both within us, whether we are in a feminine body or a masculine body, we have the ability to tap into both, and being able to have them work in harmony and have that energy dancing within us in a really beautiful way really helps bring so much unity within us and for the collective. So yeah, I'm so glad you saw that. Thank you for reaching out about this live stream as well.
Yeah, and I think that that's why I really wanted to I felt called to kind of bring up this subject because, you know, as, you know, I've been there before and, you know, we get so caught up in this day that, you know, about the female and about the women and about what it's really about. But I think the underlying, aspect of it is really that unity and, getting the men involved in the conversation as well,
Yeah.
because it is that education and for them to understand to create, true change as well.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. And I do see that happening more and more in masculine embodiments, friends and family members who are actively involved in these conversations, that want to hear, that want to understand and want to support the feminine. I did a live stream, not a live stream, but a podcast interview a few days ago with a man, a male colleague, you might say, who is dedicated to supporting the rise of the divine feminine. His whole platform, him and his partner, they have a platform for women, and he is very actively engaged in these conversations and helping women find their voice and to speak, to bring that self-empowerment through, because it's not about necessarily empowering each other and relying on other people to help us to give us the strength. It's finding that power and that strength within ourselves to be able to get ourselves up and go and do the work. And for entrepreneurs, for business owners, especially as female business owners, it's so important. I feel that we do find that masculine energy within us to do the creating, to go and build the things, like build the business, build out all the content, and as well as the receiving, like the downloads and all the information that needs to come through to do that work. So having both is super important within us, but being able to have conversations with men, with our the men in our lives, to be able to share what it's like as a woman, because a lot of the time they're in their male bodies, they don't know what it's like.
No,
So
and I
is
think
that something? Sorry, you go.
oh no, no, no. I was like, no, I think that's a really good point.
Is that something that you've experienced with the men in your circles as well, that they're tending to be more open to these kind of conversations and want to hear and understand more?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that that has been a big shift for me coming in to this year as well, like allowing myself to be held by the masculine as well, to be able to, come in and have that duality. Because, as you know, with my communities, I was, very focused on creating safe space for, women, like sacred sisterhood, rising femme. And it got to a point where, I had all these amazing men come into my life, like what you had mentioned, that were really kind of empowering women and wanted to understand what was going on and wanting to be involved in those spaces. And even for me, you were actually the catalyst for me starting my IG live when you got me on your one.
Oh,
Yeah, and I remember, like,
oh, that's
for me it was
amazing.
like a little bit edgy, like obviously, like I spoke within my communities and this and getting that on you, I was like, okay, wow, I really want to obviously give voice to these amazing women that I'd met and inspired me. But then it kind of shifted when I kind of at the end of last year, and I was just thinking about,
Yeah.
a lot of things that had gone on. And I was like, actually, I really would love to hear like a male perspective as well. And I had a lot of men interested in like the work I was doing and, finding out. So I think that that is a big shift as a whole in the world right now.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. And I think it's part of the awakening of humanity, because there's so much darkness, there's so much negativity, there's so much confusion and fear and all this stuff that's going on around the world. Like it's there's so much of it, right? But alongside that is the rise of humanity to the truth of our true nature as divine beings, and waking up to who we really are and our abilities and our own light within us. And I think that's a really big part of it, is to have the masculine and the feminine communities, not as separate, still being able to have that the safe, sacred spaces for women, and masculine communities as well need that safe space for themselves, but being able to rise together at the same time as doing our own feminine or masculine work, that's a really big part of this shift, is the awakening to what the experience is like for others, for them to understand what it's like for us, but also for us to have compassion for their journeys and to know that it's there's a lot of feminine healing that they need to do within themselves as well. So what I mentioned before about being able to tap into that masculine energy for ourselves as women, building businesses to create from that masculine energy, but also for them to have the feminine energy move through themselves and be able to allow themselves to feel, because for so long, right, for thousands of years, it's just been like stamped out of men to have that divine feminine energy and allow themselves to feel and to express and create from that space of being tapped into their emotions, because it's, that's the old kind of patriarchal system that is no longer really, it's falling away, right? That old system is crumbling, and with that goes the attitude of men are not allowed to cry, men are not allowed to feel, and bringing that back, I think, that's part of the shift. So it's an exciting time to be alive, for sure.
Definitely. And I think that's really interesting, you bringing that up because, what we've seen, with everything that's happening with the pandemic, what's happening in the world now is a lot of women have been doing that inner work, and a lot of men have been doing that inner work. And ultimately for us to really come together is to have that unity, is to, like what you said, is, for us to be able to hold space for men to feel, and then also for men being able to hold space for women to, be in that kindness, for women to allow the softness. And I think that's a really, beautiful conversation. I'd seen this video last night with Teal Swan, and she was talking about women, and, we used to be in that, and now we're in this very masculine world. We feel like we have to be strong. We feel like that we have to take on this role, and for us to, being our feminine, it's a sign of weakness, and it's rewriting that narrative that showing up as you are. Like I've been in like the workplace, and I've cried and I felt it, and and being able to have like a masculine, or even having people like understand like it's okay to have that, it's okay to feel, instead of putting a mask on.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that's beautiful. The the idea of having that masculine energy as the support, because it's like when you look at the yin and the yang energy, right? The yin is is like the void, or the darkness, the moon, the negative. Not to say it's like good or bad, but it's just that the polar opposite of the masculine, which is the sun, the light, the positive, but also the solid energy. So again, it's not about good or bad, it's just the polar opposites of the same thing, the same energy. And the analogy, one of the analogies that I really like, is the river, and the feminine is the fluidity of the water moving through the river, of the water itself. But then on either side of the water, you've got the solid banks that guide the river and allow it to flow the way that it's, the natural path, that the way that the fluidity of the feminine essence needs to flow. And then over time, the water will also shape the rocks and the solidity of the banks. So it's that beautiful, the flowing between the two, and having that space holding from the masculine is so beautiful and so important. And personally, I'm extremely grateful and blessed to have an amazing male. My divine masculine counterpart, my partner, is incredible, and it really holds space and allows me to be who I need to be, and helps me grow to be the person I need to be, as well as beautiful, amazing female friends who support me, and that female community as well. And also, I want to just let everybody know, whoever's listening, that it's not always the case, that we don't always feel like we have that support, but that's okay. If you need to be going through that phase of your life where you are feeling isolated, or you are feeling like a little bit lost, there are so many people out there who are in a similar place to you. You know, you're really not alone. A couple of years ago, when I was still doing a lot of the different kind of activism than what I've been doing since then, I'd really kind of got myself into this, backed myself into a corner, or put myself into this tiny little box in my mind and in my emotions, and I felt so isolated. I had friends, but I still felt like there was no way for me to actually come out of that space. And it just takes a shift in perspective and patience and love for ourselves to move through that, because it takes time. And it's really important that we do have that self-love to be able to shift the perspectives, to bring ourselves out of a more negative kind of mindset or an emotional space, to turn your life around and to become the person who you're meant to be, and to connect with the people we're meant to connect with. Like, you know, we met, would have been 2020, I think. Yeah, when I was in Sydney 2020, and just connecting with you and your amazing community and the people that you are, you know, that you have around you, and your beautiful sacred sisterhood space was such an amazing opportunity for me, and I'm so grateful that I could do that. But that took a lot of work for me to feel confident enough and to feel like I could venture out and to connect with people. And that connection is vital for mental health, emotional health, and to really feel connected with the universe. So I'm so glad that we were able to connect in that way.
And I think that's a really beautiful point. I love you bringing that up, especially on International Women's Day. You know, there's a lot of probably women or men that are out there that do feel isolated right now. They, you know, and I've been there before when, you know, I've been in a space where, you know, a lot was going on and you feel like, you know, there's no one around. You don't have the voice to speak up as well. And, you know, to go into that space of going, okay, wow, you know, and believing in yourself, I can have this life. I can have, you know, this beautiful community. I can, you know, I can find people around it. So I think that, you know, it's so beautiful what you'd mentioned as well, because International Women's Day for me, and really breaking the bias, is I really believe bias can be unconscious or conscious bias. And unconsciously, you know, it can even come up in the workplace, in feminine relationships, in your own relationship. It's such a broad subject as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what you touched on with female relationships, I think that's super important to break that bias that the suppression of the divine feminine energy on the planet has been not necessarily just through men either. You know, that I think there's a tendency for us to assume that for women to be suppressed, it's only through through the patriarchy, through men. But patriarchal attitudes and distorted masculine energies and that kind of, you know, competition can definitely come through women as well. And I've had my fair share. I know, I'm sure you have. I'm sure a lot of women have experienced that as well, that often it's actually from other females, which is really unfortunate and really, you know, even more disappointing in some ways, that it can come from other women when we should be able to uplift and support each other. So, you know, I think that's a big bias that we need to address, and to be able to help women in that space who find that if they've been, you know, attacked by other women, and to feel suppressed or oppressed, or have things taken from them by other women. I think it's really important that we do acknowledge that, and to recognize that men are actually a great support for us when we have that kind of you know, negativity playing out in our lives. And there's a way through. You know, you can, if anybody's going through that, like, you're not alone. I've been there, sisters. You've got it. Like, there's so many women who have been in that space, and it takes a lot of inner strength to walk through those kind of initiations, I guess, those challenges, times of opportunity for us to grow. You know, I love, I heard someone, a spiritual teacher the other day, talk about how when we have those times of challenge, or we go through negative, more what we consider negative experiences, really it's an opportunity for us to step deeper into love and to find more love and more compassion. So it's just allowing yourself to love yourself and your own heart and the heart of humanity through those experiences, and to be able to walk yourself through them. Because on the other side, there is so much expansiveness, there's so much love, and finding that light within yourself, even through those difficult times where someone might make you, intentionally or unintentionally, might be making you feel small or unworthy. You are worthy. You know, you really are. We all have such amazing light that we can tap into, and pour it onto the planet, you know, pour it out into the world. It's we have so much power. We really need to start tapping into that.
And I love that, really just shine, like show up as yourself. And, and it is like, I totally resonate with, what you were saying, because, for me, some of the most challenging relationships have been with my feminine relationships, have been, women around me. Like, I thought I'd done the work, and I thought that, a lot of things happened, but it was like, I feel like it was a pattern, and it was a thing coming up for me. It was that kind of, sisterhood wound coming up and being like, have you really learnt your lesson of setting your boundaries, and a lot of it is unconscious. I don't think that consciously some of the women realize they do it, but we're in this competitive culture that women are brought up with, and you think that, okay, is it your values that lie? But having compassion in those situations as well, and being like, well, the person's only doing the best that they can do at the time, but being very protective around your energy, because I believe everything is energy. And, sometimes, not all friendships or, relationships, everything is for a season, and understanding and having compassion, like what you said, is like, that lesson that I learned from them, it's an opportunity to learn. It's really pushed me in the right direction of what you said, of things, even better things that even beyond of what I could see. It was a catalyst for change in my life. And that's even been, around bias that I've had in the workplace as well. Because for me, with what I do, for example, a lot of the men I think they genuinely want to understand like what a women's circle is and this, but there is this kind of connotation is, oh, you're just drinking tea together if women get together, which, which is like, for me is like, it really gets me like, that's something I'm like, no, it's more than that. We don't just drink tea and we chat. Like, we actually change. But that's okay. Like, I think the masculine doesn't understand what it means that women need to share. Women need to like come into safe spaces where they feel like they can open up. And, that's a big shift, and my big learning from that experience is having compassion and making sure that it's accessible for the masculine to understand the work that we're doing. And especially with you, like, tell us a little bit more about being a creative change maker and what that means to you.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, it's so exciting for me, because it's been a journey of the last 4 years of having set up my organization. Basically, Paradise Rising Studios is my business, but I originally set it up as an organization, as you know, for activists and for activist mental health and emotional support, specifically within animal rights that I was doing a lot of work within. And for the about 2 years from there, that's what it was. It was a network. It was a supportive space to support activists and to give them tools around meditation, breathing techniques, that kind of thing. But then as COVID hit about 2 years ago, I realized it needed to be, I felt so much weight on my shoulders to be guiding it in the way that it was. And I knew it needed to change, and I knew I needed to change. So it really, from there, developed, or it very quickly actually shifted from the idea of being that organization, which was a real struggle financially, I have to say, in many ways, and to realize that it needed to become more of a platform for other creators and other people who were who understood the power of the arts and the power of creativity to create change on the planet, because that was a big part of the intention of it as an organization, was to not only support the activists, excuse me, but to share their messages. A lot of the artists that I was working with within the activist space, I saw how much power and how much energy and how much change could be created from the work that they were doing through their creativity. And I wanted to be sharing more of that. So I saw that there was a need and how much power and how much change could actually be created when we all are clear and compassionate and have that confidence to be able to really shine our light as creators, to change the world and make the world a better place through our creativity. And so now it's a business that is more of a platform for artists, but also, as you know, creativity is so much more than just drawing or painting. Like, that's in itself, that's amazing. But at the same time, you can be creative as a scientist, you can be creative as an inventor, if you're in IT or whatever area of line of work somebody might be in, there's so much scope for them to be creative and to share their light and their creative genius that they have within them. So I'm really connecting with a lot of different people in many different ways, mostly through music and through modeling and through the arts in that way, film, those kind of forms of art. But I just would love everybody to know, everyone listening as well, that it's not just limited to that it is the creative genius spark is within every single one of us. And we can use that consciousness to consciously create as just divine beings, letting that light pour through us. And a lot of it is about healing as well, healing ourselves, removing those layers of trauma and distortions and limiting beliefs and everything that's holding us back from truly being ourselves, and healing that and being able to forgive ourselves and these, people that, as you say, they might have been unconsciously causing distress for us. Being able to actually forgive, that in itself is so powerful in our healing, and to release, cut those cords that might be tying us to negative experiences in the past that are holding us back. Have you heard of the Hawaiian mantra, the Ho'oponopono prayer?
Yes, I love,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's so powerful, isn't it? It's incredible.
I think we should
Yeah, it
do it.
really is.
A really good one that we could do right now for unity, for breaking the bias. Like, I think that's
Mm.
beautiful, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And it is breaking those negative connections and being able to step into more deeper compassion and deeper love for ourselves and others, and being able to see ourselves reflected in others who, whatever our relationship might be with them, we are all, we all come from the one source. We all come from the infinite creator. And so there's got to be some element of ourselves that we can see reflected in others, and being able to use that Ho'oponopono prayer, that mantra, to release any kind of negative attachments to negative experiences in the past. A lot of people, again, not just women, but definitely a lot of women have experienced sexual violence and rape, and all these things that are so toxic individually, but for the collective as well. Being able to heal ourselves from those kind of experiences, that's huge.
Mm.
That is absolutely huge, as well as generational trauma. So the arts for me and creativity is such a powerful way for us to really heal ourselves and to help heal the world. So I'm super excited about the future of Paradise Rising Studios, and I've got a podcast planned, the Paradise Rising Show. We've got so many amazing things that are coming, and I'm really excited to step into that. So Yeah, 2020 is gonna be gonna be good.
Yeah, I seen someone had messaged, what an inspiring conversation. Yeah, it was a guy. He's like, I'm going to explain here more. And that's why I wanted to take, I felt just really, I feel like your intuition is creativity, and I'm the same as you as a creative consultant. You know, it's listening to yourself and that impulsiveness of what you want to create. And sometimes we don't allow ourselves to create, fear of judgment, fear of what other people will think. And that's why I thought it was so important opening up this conversation about creativity, and about creative change making, especially on International Women's Day. And what you'd mentioned before, with the prayer, I've used it before, for healing past relationships. It's such an empowering tool that we use with those. Do you want to share the words of it? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So you start with let's take a moment.
Mm.
So you start with there's different ways that people sometimes do it, but um, thank you, I forgive you,
Thank you. I forgive you.
I love you,
I love you.
and oh,
I'm sorry.
and I'm sorry. Yeah. So there's I've heard different orders that it's been spoken in, but I'm sorry,
Sorry.
please forgive me, thank you, I love you.
Yeah,
But
please.
also, I'm sorry, I forgive you, thank you, I love you. I've heard both, and in different orders sometimes as well. But that's the essence of it. That it's forgiveness and it's gratitude, and finding that love within the gratitude and the compassion for the other's journey as well as our own selves, and seeking forgiveness for our own part in whatever situation might have been playing out. So yeah, it's super powerful. Um, and I really wanted to touch on something that what you mentioned before about intuition and our ability to tap into that, and having um, something that you said in our last conversation when we did our live stream on my IG last year. I think I asked you about where you get your inspiration from, and you said sometimes it can just be like when you're in the bath, you're literally just like soaking and you're allowing yourself to be in that divine feminine energy, the yin of being in that relaxed state, just being, and that self-care and that self-nurturing. And sometimes that's really where it comes from. It's just that being energy, and having the inspiration to come through, being clear in that place. So that, I just loved that, and I really wanted to bring that up because it was a beautiful representation of yin energy, and allowing ourselves to create from that place of intuition, as well as our own self-love, and really the power of tapping into our own heart space and our own self-compassion, as well as for others, and really finding the fierce love within ourselves, because I think there's a misconception around love as well, that it's all just like fluffy clouds and unicorns, which is lovely, but it's fierceness as well, and it's that fire. So love, creativity, intuition, like it's all part of that creativity, and being able to channel our creative change maker, the genius that we all are, that spark of creativity comes from a balance of all these different things. So yeah, just what you said before reminded me of that, and I was like, yeah, that was awesome.
No, and I think it's really important, especially, here in the city. You know what it's like living in Sydney. busy, you know, there's always something in this, and to have that simple moment of just, you know, disconnecting and really sitting with yourself, a lot of us don't allow. We busy ourselves with our phones, scrolling on with the TV. We don't actually give ourselves that time of, let's just have a bath, or, you know, let's just switch off our phone and, you know, go to an art gallery and be inspired, or go catch a sun.
Oh,
Simple things around us that can really bring out that creative change maker within us. Yeah.
mm, exactly. Like the sunset as well as the galleries. I love that, and being one with nature and being able to be inspired by the birds and the trees and the butterflies and all the beautiful the elements that are just they're everywhere. You know, here in New Zealand where I'm staying at the moment, in the South Island, we have uh, the elements are it's different to Australia, but because the area of where I am right now, it's very open and very flat, and the wind that comes from the northwest brings a lot of negative ions, which affects people's moods a lot. But I feel very inspired by the elements and by the weather, and I'm very influenced by them. I'm very affected by what the weather does, and I find that um, when I connect in with that, I can intuitively feel like, okay, I need to love myself in a different way based on where I'm at right now with my connection with the elements at this time. So if I feel like you know, that when that nor'wester comes and it's the negative ions that affect my mood, um, I find like I have to dance, I have to move myself to move that energy through me instead of letting it get trapped and being like, ah, it's like super frustrated, which it does if I don't do anything about it. And other times when it's pouring with rain for days and I'm like, oh, this is so depressing. Then I have to, sometimes it's dancing as well, but often I tap into art in a different way and I'll do some drawing. If I can't go outside and dance in the rain or in the sunshine, tapping into that, the visual creativity is important for me at that time. So, you know, I feel like understanding ourselves and our own connection with the elements and how nature works, and working with the arts that are associated with, you know, well, whatever needs to move through us to shift that energy, is can be really powerful in our healing and our self-expression. And that's a big part of catharsis. A big part of my signature course that I run is catharsis, which is technically the word catharsis literally means like a purging of emotion, a purging of energy, that can create healing, that can shift us into a different state, primarily through the arts. Like people watching a play, you get to the good bit or you get to the really dramatic scenes, and it's like you release. People might cry, or crying in a movie or whatever. That's cathartic. And so catharsis, the course that I run, is really, it is about healing, and it's about shining our light through that process of clarifying, like clearing out our energy body, clearing out our hearts, our minds, and really coming through with compassion and conviction and having that confidence to really express ourselves freely. So, you know, free self-expression is something that I'm really passionate about and really work on, for myself as well, my own self-liberation. That's where it starts, and then we can help liberate the rest of the world, that the change making through our own embodiment. So yeah, there's a lot to it, and it's based on nature, and it's based on different art forms and artwork that we can do to heal ourselves.
Yeah, and I think that, like what you said, allowing ourselves to really kind of shine and be that best, authentic, free expression of ourselves is, yeah, really how we're gonna change the world. And I loved, in your group you'd put up a meditation yesterday, and I was like working, and I had a moment at work where I was like, it hit that 3 o'clock, and instead of having coffee, I was like, I'm gonna do your meditation, and it was so beautiful going through the chakras and
Oh,
stuff. Yeah, and I did this morning when I woke up. I went to International Women's Day breakfast, and before I was like, okay, I was feeling a bit, and I was like, 'cause it was raining here, and I was like, oh, I could stay in bed, and I was like, no, and I did your meditation, and it's really protecting your energy field, and I think it's so important right now with everybody, especially if you're empathic, similar to us, with all this energy and this a lot of things that are happening in the world, is to really protect your energy.
Mm.
Mm.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Because we do pick up so much from the collective, and we actually have no idea. A lot of people are actually quite psychically open and will be receiving thoughts and receiving emotions and energy that actually aren't their own. And just if people that might be on social media a lot, or that still listen to a lot of mainstream media, which I don't really recommend, but I do still think it's important for us to be aware of what is being said, and to know what kind of narratives there are, but to disconnect from that and to really come back into ourselves and to be able to put up that shield. And it's not, our boundaries, like you mentioned earlier as well, boundaries are so important, and to be able to have them really strong as opposed to walls that don't let anything in or out. Boundaries are just our safe spaces that are our energy field, and our psychological boundaries that say no, like you're not gonna, I'm not gonna let you treat me that way, or I'm not gonna let that happen, or I'm not gonna let the collective energy influence me in a negative way. Having those boundaries that allow love in and out, and to be able to send the negative energy back out, because one of the main principles of the universe is the law of attraction, and what we put out is what we receive, and what we maintain within our space is what we're gonna put out more as well. So being able to send that energy back for appropriate transmutation, whether it's positive energy that we're receiving, we send that back, and those people who are sending it to us are going to receive really beautiful energy that they, the love that they send us. And the same for negative energy. If we're receiving negative energy from the collective just because of everything that's going on, sending it out, not with the intention of causing harm, but just so that we don't have that in our space, and we know that it will be transmuted appropriately. That's a really powerful technique to be able to have that, the energetic boundaries and our emotional protection around ourselves. So I'm really glad that you were able to take that time and do that meditation yesterday, and I'm glad that it helped you so much. That's amazing.
Really good. So are you doing one every day for the next few days with the meditation? Yeah.
Yeah. So this week, Monday to Friday, I'm just going to do a live guided meditation in my group, which is Paradise Rising Virtual Studio. So there's the page, Paradise Rising Studios, and we have the group, which is a virtual studio. And just every day at 3 o'clock New Zealand time, I'm going to be doing these meditations. We did a 5 days at the beginning of the year, 5 days of creative self-care, and before that, 5 days of connecting in with community in a different way as well. So excuse me, every now and then I just feel called to really connect with the community and share, and I love live streams. So yeah, I just really love them. So
And I love that about you. You always inspire me with that light and that creativity. I think you're very similar to me. Like something gets like intuitively to us, and we're like, okay, we've got to do it. But
yeah.
I think that's what I kind of have to have those boundaries, because then I end up, doing so much. And I'm so grateful for you coming on, and us kind of just changing the narrative a little bit about what International Women's Day is, and looking at it as that kind of unity, and definitely getting the masculine involved as an education piece, because I think there's a lot, yes, there is bias, there is the boys club, there is that toxic situation, but there is actually masculines that want to support us and want to understand, with women how we can really rise together. And I went, because I look after part of my consulting, I look after experts. I went to she did this beautiful International Women's Day event this morning, and it was with a beautiful charity about domestic violence and a lot of homelessness that is going on with women right now. And you don't
Mm.
and realize, like, with this whole pandemic and with this situation of of what's going on. So it was really interesting, and there was actually a male there, and it's beautiful now seeing in International Women's Day a lot more
Mm.
coming and wanting to know, okay, what is this situation? And like, he got up and his doctor, one of the doctors, and he mentioned, wow, I understand a little bit more about what's going on with women. And and that's why I think you're over in New Zealand and with the work you do, and over here in Australia, is opening it up. And for women that are leading communities, or women out there that are creative or change makers or want to tap into that, is like, how can we really open up that conversation to allow you to shine and to be there, and they can reach out to you anytime they want. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, Lucy Verde Roze, and Facebook is the same name. You can also go to my website, which is just the same, lucyverderose.com. And I would love to connect with anybody. We do. I work with men and women, and non-binary. However people identify, it's free self-expression. Like, I love that. So yeah, anybody, please feel free to reach out and connect. And if people feel called to dive deeper into what catharsis is, I'd love to have that conversation. But if you just need support or guidance in the moment, I'm here as well. And it's all about supporting each other and rising together and finding that self-love and the empowerment within ourselves, as well as within community, because we do need support. We need people around us that are going to be able to uplift and give us that little bit of like extra oomph when we need it. Because it's not easy. It's definitely not an easy route, personal development and trying to make the world a better place through whatever means. It takes a lot of dedication, and it takes a lot of self-awareness and self-love and appreciation of each other and compassion. So yeah, whoever feels called to connect, please reach out. Yeah, I'm here.
We see you, we know you, I see you, I feel you, we're there for you. And it's so beautiful to be able to even speak freely like this about things that we're really passionate about, and to be able to get into that space of creativity. And that's why I think the work you're doing is so important, because you always think back to when you were a kid and you were this creative being doing this, and then we get as life goes on, we kind of forget that inner child. We forget that creative being that all of us are. And I remember having a few people going, I'm not creative. I'm like, everybody's creative. You cannot say that you're not creative. It's just coming back to that remembrance of, like, who we are and what we are. And like what you said, open to all beautiful expressions. Like here in Sydney, we had Mardi Gras, obviously all the beautiful expressions of whoever you want to be, and that fluidity and that flow as well.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. I think this is a really exciting and beautiful time for everybody to be to feel that free and to be able to express their light through their embodiments in however way they feel called to. I love Mardi Gras. I think I've been to one parade in Sydney, and it was super fun. I absolutely loved it, and I think it's a really exciting and beautiful time for us to be alive and to feel that sense of freedom within ourselves to dress how we want, to for men to dress how they want and to not feel so judged. There's a lot of really epic people in the music industry, males who dress in a way that breaks those biases as well. And I think it really gives other men the permission in a way to really to just be in their divine masculine balanced divine feminine energy, and to really just let themselves shine, as well as for women to express ourselves in our own way. So yeah, there's an analogy that I heard yesterday, I think. I'm not sure, whoever's listening, if you might have might follow Steve Noble. He does really beautiful meditations. And he said something, I think it was yesterday, about how at the moment the world is like a bucket of water, and the water that's in the bucket already is like dirty and mess, not clean water. And you pour in this clean water, and uh, it moves around all the dirt and all the muck in the dirty water. So it kind of stirs it all up and it brings it to the surface. But the more clean water you pour in, the more it dissolves, right? Or what's the word? Dilutes the water that isn't clean. So the more light that's being poured onto the planet through ourselves and through each of us, calling that light in, it is going to bring up the dirty water, but eventually it is all going to be so much more diluted and so much more clear and light filled and beautiful. And that's just through us shining our light and being ourselves and finding that free self-expression to create and to love ourselves and love each other. That's what it's really about, right? Love.
Yeah. Unconditional love,
Yeah.
and understanding, and what I wrote, about our conversation is having, a willingness to speak up, to even listen, to an opinion different from yours, and to kind of understand, the unconscious and conscious bias that's out there, but without judgment, with loving awareness of, we're all human in this human experience right now, and with this human experience of what we're going through, we're not perfect. Everyone makes mistakes and things happen, but it's like what you said of it coming up, as things are coming up for us to shift and transmute, and for us to kind of really rise together.
Exactly, yeah. And it takes that work to do that transmutation. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear, there's quite a bit of noise in the background. I hope it's all right. But yeah. Yeah, it takes work. It definitely takes that conscious awareness and the transmutation to heal ourselves and to connect with others in a compassionate and loving way. But it's possible. Like, definitely possible. We're all doing the work, but it takes time and patience and love to continue and to change the world for the better through our own lives.
So if you have one intention for International Women's Day to send out to the women and men watching about the hashtag break the bias, what would it be?
One intention to send out. Um, I think it really comes down to self-awareness and being able to sorry, it's super loud. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, bringing it back to self-awareness and connecting in with our heart space and really being able to find that compassion within ourselves to see the reflections of ourselves in others, and to understand and have a clearer perspective, understanding of the other's perspective, knowing that we are all one, and that it does take work to be able to shift that perspective and to understand where somebody else is coming from, but to be able um, to see things from somebody else's point of view, I think is really important, and just by doing that, that can shift a lot. Having that intention to understand, to have more understanding and more awareness of ourselves and of others and where they're coming from for their backgrounds or their experiences in life helps a lot, I think, to be able to break that bias.
I think that's so beautiful, yeah, because everything, can be a mirror reflection of, what's going on, and opening it up and just treating it with that compassion, that awareness, and just understanding, but also speaking up about it, and of what's going on, and we're in this together, and I'm so grateful for you coming on, and when I reshare this, you'll post some of the links to your things, and keep shining bright. I'm so proud of you, sister, of all the work that you do, and I don't know. Hopefully I'll be able to see you soon. Whenever
Oh, I know. Yeah,
I haven't been
I know.
to go to New Zealand whenever we can. I think you can fly now, but I always wanted to go to New Zealand Spirit Fest. So yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes, can't. I can't wait. I haven't been yet, but I can't wait for all of that stuff to, for the world to be more accessible again.
Yeah.
But definitely come over to New Zealand when you can, and I would love to come back to Sydney. I definitely will be coming back to Sydney at some point. Who knows when? Who knows how? We just got to take it kind of a step at a time at the moment. So, yeah, thank you so much for having me on in this space and being able to connect and have this conversation. I've really loved it. I feel like a lot has come through, and we've been able to share a lot of our own truth and our own experience to shift some perspectives and to yeah, help in our own little way. So thank you so much. Yeah,
Oh,
so
no,
grateful. I love your work as well. I love it so much.
you never know who would change, you know. All we can do is just share our story, our perspective, open up the conversation, and from there, who knows that who it can affect and who needs to hear it most. But you and I both being creatives, I think having that creative aspect of how we can create change and how we can break the bias. It's interesting to bring it to the table because sometimes it can be very one-sided. A lot of the things that we hear, on these days. So it's good to have that kind of fresh perspective.
Mm, exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I hope to connect with you again soon. As I said, I'll be running a podcast at some point in the not too distant future, so I'd love to have you on there as well. Lots of love to you, sister.
Bye.
Have a beautiful day. Bye.